On Tuesday, November 4th, Mars, the planet of action and desire, will enter spiritual Sagittarius, where it will immediately oppose Uranus, bringing disruptions, accidents, and breakdowns. Buckle your seatbelts and prepare for a rough takeoff. My name is Anastasia. I am a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal relationship predictive readings, teaching classes, creating products. If you enjoy my work, please leave me a like, a comment, subscribe, press the notification bell. Stick around, watch more of my content. That is how YouTube algorithm knows to be friendlier, to send more attention my way. All of that really helps me grow. I am thankful for that. You can also say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, or any other token of appreciation. If you're seeking one-on-one contact, you'd like to work with me, you want me to answer questions about your chart, take a look at your future, talk about your relationship, or help you pick the best place in the world to move to, or pick the best date for your important event, you can book a reading on my website. There is a variety of options, a few durations, something that can work for anyone. Additionally, I am about to teach my level 2 predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026, and it will give you practical tools that you can use to predict your future, to understand what's happening in your life, what trends are coming up, look back at the history of your life and learn from it, and maximize the positive opportunities. Join us to study with me. It will be an eye-opening, life-changing course because it will actually help you use astrology to your advantage, as that's why I do it, at least. On my website, you can also pick up my 2026 planner. This is the 3rd edition. It has 227 pages filled with insights about astrology, breakdowns of every month, every lunation, calendars that highlight the best dates for love, more challenging dates, lucky dates, and so much more. It even includes a lot of helpful tips and breakdowns that can help you learn astrology in the process. Additionally, since today we're talking about a rather difficult beginning for Mars in a new zodiac sign in Sagittarius, I'd love to highlight my Mars Kazemi candle. This one captures Mars in rulership in Scorpio, in the precise perfect conjunction with the sun. This is the empowered Lord of action, helping you set goals and achieve them, helping you achieve your fitness targets and persevere in the face of difficulty and express courage and passion. It's really good for romantic relationships as well if you need help in the bedroom. So today we're talking about Mars entering Sagittarius. Mars has been in Scorpio all throughout October. Mars is in rulership in Scorpio, as mentioned. That's why I created this Mars Kazemi candle. It is very ninja-like, very focused, very strategic. Now Mars is going into Sagittarius. And when Mars is entering Sagittarius, it is going into the domicile, into the home of Jupiter, because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So you get the planet of action in the Jupiterian, young, fiery domain. Sagittarius is interested in learning. Sagittarius is interested in spirituality. So our goals become very focused on spiritual pursuits, right? We might be more interested in signing up for courses, going to travel to spiritual locations. We're maybe more interested in learning about astrology, about esoteric sciences, and things like that. We are very idealistic with this transit as well. There might be very sort of optimistic and my way or the highway, very blunt approach to Mars in Sagittarius. You want to have a goal, you want to have a mission, right? There needs to be a passion project, and if you don't have that passion project, you may feel restless. The danger of Mars in a Jupiter-ruled sign is, of course, a tendency to overdo it, because Jupiter is big and grand. So taking on too much, abandoning things because you can't do them all, right? So try to narrow down your focus. Watch out for being too non-compromising and too sort of, like I said, my way or the highway, too blunt, too sort of forceful with your opinions. Watch out for the traditional challenge of Sagittarius, where you're telling people what to do and not necessarily like respecting other people's opinions. So there is, there's a search for freedom here, a search for adventure, a search for spiritual truth, and maybe a little bit of tension between the challenges in the real life things that you have to deal with versus your dreams and aspirations, and having to unite those two, having to find balance will be an interesting task that this transit will encourage us to do. So this is about a month and a week. It begins on Tuesday, November 4th, lasts until December 15th, 2025. And there are a few important dates. In fact, right off the bat, as mentioned, Mars opposes Uranus. So it enters Sagittarius at 8 in the morning on Tuesday, November 4th, and then only 4 hours later it opposes Uranus. And so if Mars is this idealistic warrior, Uranus is the rebel that doesn't follow any rules, that just throws surprises and throws challenges your way, right? So very literal way this can manifest is some kind of an accident, getting in a car accident, stubbing your toe, getting stuck on a train. Like there may be a lot of things that force you to think twice and to move slowly. There may be some unpleasant exchanges and a tendency to be impulsive and reckless and rash. So beware of, of like attacking and defending and just sort of jumping at things right away. Avoid reacting to provocation and look for opportunities to transform. What's interesting is the day after this opposition, we get the full moon in Taurus. So it's all interconnected with also needing to be more stable and patient. On November 6th, the next aspect Mars is making is a sextile to Pluto. So this will help soothe Mars a little bit, help Mars focus and direct energy and maybe learn from mistakes and from disruptions that you have faced. On November 12th, we're going to have Mercury retrograde conjoining Mars, which is similar to the transit we had on October 20th. This might suggest that you are rethinking your anger responses. You're also maybe dealing with a lot of things, but because Mercury is retrograde, there is this like introspective quality to it. Even if there is a lot going on, Mercury is retrograde and it is in Sagittarius, so maybe you're questioning your direction, your faith, and your desires a little bit. And then in December, we have a couple of frustrating ways Mars gets checked. First, on December 8th by a square to Saturn, and then on December 14th by a square to Neptune. So there may be some tension that you're going to have to deal with, some restrictions and some difficulties that your energy will be harnessed somehow if you move slowly. But yeah, be ready for early December to be frustrating. How fun. If you're seeking more, book a reading. Find me at anastasia.astrology.com. Nothing beats a personal consultation other than studying astrology to actually become your astrologer and to be able to read charts for yourself and predict your own future. All of that is on my website. If you are an Aries rising, Mars is entering your 9th house, and it will urge you to go further, to seek the truth, to go on adventures. This is a really great time to plan a trip, to go on a trip. 9th house deals with foreign people and people who can open your mind to things. So exploring your connections, going to meetups of Spanish speakers if you're studying Spanish, going on an actual trip, even reading a book that takes you further away from where you are is great right now. You are likely to be quite idealistic. You are Mars ruled, right? So your chart ruler going into the sign of a fiery Sagittarius is going to energize you. Watch out for the difficult Mars-Uranus opposition on November 4th, 3 days before, 3 days after. There may be some challenges that come from your house of everyday life. There may be some heated conversations, ideological debates, political disagreements, tensions with neighbors, issues in the neighborhood, things that are challenging your perspective and challenging your trajectory. If you are flexible, if you're open-minded, if you're willing to avoid attacking, defending, and being too rash, you can actually discover some breakthroughs through it all. But this is a challenging one in terms of planning trips, because Uranus will throw a lot of little surprises into your trajectory. So move slowly, be careful, remember to breathe, double check everything, allow extra time for any travel and challenges you might face. And if you're seeking more, visit my website to book a personal reading or to join my predictive astrology course to learn to forecast your future. All of that is at anastasia.astrology.com. If you are a Taurus rising, Mars is entering your 8th house. It will energize you to pay out debts, to negotiate agreements, to seek situations that are more fair, balanced, and just. You're maybe even going to find yourself in a position of advocating for others, speaking up. Mars in the 8th is really good for fighting battles for people, especially spiritual battles. But it's, it kind of energizes you to work with other people. It might be difficult to come to an agreement because Mars is very highly individualistic, and you may perceive that your opinion is the most accurate one. This might be the perspective of Mars here. And the first transit Mars makes on November 4th is in opposition to Uranus in your 2nd house, 3 days before and 3 days after. And this suggests a very strong ideological conflict of values specifically, where Uranus in the 2nd house, maybe a sudden expenditure that pops up in your life, a sudden bill that you need to pay, maybe even some kind of sudden opportunity that is personal in nature, that is affecting your plan to work with other people or the contract you signed with other people. So be flexible and try to figure out a good solution instead of being too individualistic and perceiving that you are the right one and everyone else is wrong. For more, visit my website to book a personal reading or to join my predictive astrology course to learn to forecast the future with the use of the magic of astrology. If you are a Gemini rising, Mars is entering your 7th house, energizing you to date, to partner up, to sign contracts, to negotiate. You are driven to put yourself out there. If you're single, you're joining dating websites, you're scheduling dates. If you're in a relationship, maybe you're more active in terms of dating, in terms of planning activities with your significant other. Mars in the 7th can also encourage you to go on active dates, like go hiking together or figure out something else that is fun and exciting. There is, however, an opposition to Uranus right away as Mars enters Sagittarius on November 4th, 3 days before, 3 days after. And Uranus is in the 1st house, and Uranus is encouraging you to be authentically and truthfully yourself. And it's also maybe encouraging you to step away from outdated patterns, to say no to things, or to show up in some kind of fun and quirky way. And so somehow your desire for freedom and independence may contradict what's happening in your relationship sector. It could even be about like a business negotiation or some kind of contract negotiation. You're like, I need a room for my red belts in this apartment. And your partner is like, no, you're not getting a whole room for your red belts. And so a conflict might ensue, and perhaps a compromise is in order. Maybe there is a way to get a closet for your red belts, but you don't need to get a separate room for them. So be flexible, move slowly, watch out for like over exercising, rushing places, because Uranus in the 1st can also suggest some kind of like accident and something that comes from moving too quickly and bumping into things, breaking things. If you're seeking more, book a reading on my website and register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March and it will teach you how to forecast your future. If you are a Cancer rising, Mars is entering your 6th house. So the good news is Mars is in its joy in the 6th house. There's a lot to do. There are health matters to attend to, exercises you need to do, doctor's appointments, problem solving at work, other projects that you're dealing with. And so Mars gives you energy to do all of that. You're productive at work. You're doing things with like a sense of oomph and spirituality. and you give people advice and you take on a lot of things. However, early on in this transit, there is an opposition to Uranus in your 12th house. And Uranus in the 12th is almost like you being self-defeating of yourself, you having like things sort of coming at you from your blind spot, from your mental health, from, you know, things that you need to attend to that you're not. This one could be like a very, you know, if something shows up and it feels like it's from another person, like your boss is being snappy at you, maybe it's about you being snappy at them but not realizing it because you're actually feeling overworked and you're being passive aggressive. You're like, I didn't do anything. But watch out for this sort of tendency to maybe overwork yourself, be too anxious. Watch out for use some of this active energy to maybe meditate, do yoga, and do something helpful for your health instead of overextending yourself. If you're seeking more, book a reading on my website and register for my predictive astrology course, anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are a Leo rising, Mars is entering your 5th house. You have a lot of energy to date, whether single or in a relationship. Your romantic life speeds up. More energy to make love and have a good time in the bedroom. Creatively, right? If the 5th house is your pool of creative energy, Mars comes here and it gives you a boost. It gives you inspiration. You're starting to dance again. You're painting. You're making pressed flowers, right? Whatever it is you're doing, you're getting energized to do it. However, the first 4 days of this transit, Mars opposes Uranus in your 11th house. And there may be some friction with your friends. There may be some friction between what you are driven to do and the disruptions and the attention that goes to your social sector. Maybe something is happening in your friendship circle and you have to go and help them figure it out, right? Maybe there is some tension on social media that you get pulled into. Maybe there is some kind of group project that demands your attention. So look for opportunities to break through instead of break down. There may be some insight that comes out of strife and conflict. Avoid being too restless. Avoid rushing places. Take it slow and breathe. And if you're seeking more, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a personal reading or to register for my predictive astrology course. If you are a Virgo rising, Mars is entering your 4th house, your home, family, real estate, foundations sector. And Mars here can give you the energy to spend time with family, to plan get-togethers, to go see family, right? We are in the US here coming up on Thanksgiving. So seeing family more, being more active in terms of fixing your home, adding rooms to your house, redecorating, rebuilding, buying, selling property, a lot of action in this area. Mars can also mean fighting with family a little bit more, fighting with your contractor. Especially the first 4 days have quite irritating energy as Mars opposes Uranus in the 10th house. In December, we're also going to have some friction, but we're still pretty far away from that. But the first 4 days of this transit, Mars opposes Uranus in the 10th, and some shakeups, disruptions, unpredictability in your career sector and public life will affect the plans you have set in motion when it comes to home, family, and real estate. So, maybe there's some fire you need to put out at work and it disrupts your plans. Move slowly, remember to breathe, and try to problem solve and compromise as much as you can. For more, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a personal reading and register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026 and it will teach you how to read charts and forecast your future. If you are the beautiful Libra rising, Mars is entering your 3rd house. This is a very energetic transit. You'll move faster, you have more things going on, there's more messages, more texts, more things you're doing, more of everything. There's also a bit more of a combative tendency in your speech and in your interactions with siblings, a bit more individualistic. One time when I had this transit, I got in a competition with a fellow Libra rising. We were doing like a health challenge, right? There was like a quest to do a certain amount of steps and drink a certain amount of water and do an exercise every day. And so this is like a really good use of Mars in the third. It also will likely speed up your mind, give you more ideas, encourage you to be more active with your business, right? It can be quite a good transit if you harness this energy well, especially with the ruler being Jupiter in your 10th house of career. So use your skills and your time wisely, and watch out for the first 4 days of this transit between November 4th and like 7th, 8th, as Mars opposes Uranus in your 9th house. There may be some disruptions, accidents, breakdowns that involve travel, education, legal matters, other sort of commitments that you have as you're trying to move really fast. So it's best to take it one step at a time, and also avoid getting into ideological debates, avoid saying yes to too many things, try to breathe and move slowly. And if you're seeking more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com and register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026, very soon. If you are a Scorpio rising, Mars is entering your 2nd house, energizing you to make money and hustle. This is a good transit to speed up your earning and maybe ask for more responsibility, take more action. However, Mars in the 2nd can also suggest that you're making more, but it can also bring like financial crisis. You're making more, you're spending more. You made a little bit more, you have to, pay for something. There's like quick recovery, but also potentially sort of challenge and crisis that comes from moving too fast and spending too much. The first 4 days, so on November 4th, 3 days before, 3 days after, Mars will oppose Uranus in your 8th. And there may be quite literally a reason why you have to spend more money that is connected to a debt you forgot about, your partner having a debt, or some kind of group thing, marriage thing. Even for some people, it might be connected to like paying for like something connected to like a funeral of their parents, right? Like I'm thinking a tombstone or something like that, because 8th house represents death. But yeah, be mindful with finances. Watch out for conflicts of values, disagreements with your partner about what is worth and what is not worth spending on. And avoid just like making really fast snap judgments when it comes to what to spend on, because Uranus can pop up and be like, and you're like, okay, we need to plug this hole and put money in there. And then, oh no, we need to do this. And then you realize that you actually rushed and haven't approached things in the best way possible. For more, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com and book your personal reading or register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Mars is entering your 1st house. This is you getting a boost of energy. You are driven, you're starting new projects, you're starting new workout routines, you're defending yourself, you're exploring the world, maybe going on trips, going on adventures. A really good time to start new things. However, disruptions come from your relationship sector, especially the first 4 days of this transit as Mars opposes Uranus in your 7th house. And so somehow challenges in a relationship, challenges in the partner's life, disagreements with people you are in a contractual relationship with, or any significant relationship will distract you from your personal goals. And there might be a need to do a little bit of a balancing act and move slowly and avoid fighting and attacking and being too defensive as Mars opposes Uranus. Try to figure out a way through instead of getting stuck in a conflict and dealing with tension. If you're seeking more, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a personal reading or register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026 and it will teach you how to forecast your future. If you are a Capricorn rising, Mars is entering your 12th house. So this is a really good time to retreat, whether it means literally by going on a trip to a spiritual place, by meditating and connecting to a spiritual teacher, or maybe a little bit more metaphorically, where you're just withdrawing and you're spending more time in solitude, taking solo walks and resting. You will benefit from yoga, from therapy, from meditation, anything that can calm your mind, because sometimes Mars in the 12th can irritate your psyche and can cause trouble sleeping and just like a lot of busy energy in the mind. Especially the first 4 days of this transit have the potential to be really rough, as Mars opposes Uranus in your 6th house, and there's likely to be some like electric, frustrating, disruptive energy in your 6th house of work, health, and service. So maybe something in your everyday life that is affecting your mental health, maybe a lot of issues at work, a lot of surprises that involve colleagues and health, and even pets that you have to attack and address. So try to move slowly, watch out rushing places, because careless accidents is another side effect of this transit. And use this as an opportunity to sort of slow down and take a beat. For more, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a personal reading and register for my predictive astrology course, which begins in March, so soon. If you are an Aquarius rising, Mars is entering your 11th house, energizing you to go after your dreams, to work in collaboration with other people, to go on group gatherings, right? Maybe more weddings, maybe more networking events, maybe you're speaking in public. Something in your social life is definitely moving a lot faster. Mars in the 11th can also bring up a social cause, something that you want to advocate for, or maybe you're going to volunteer as well. It could be a really good transit for doing any kind of like altruistic work, helping your friends. You may find yourself fighting with your friends a little bit more, and you may find yourself being a leader, and sometimes not everybody appreciating of you being a leader. So try to be a little bit more charming in the way you tell people orders and tell people what to do. The first 3-4 days of this transit, Mars opposes Uranus in your 5th house, and there may be some disruptions, breakdowns, challenges coming from your romantic sector, even something happening with your child or with your personal life that is somehow maybe sabotaging your authority, or just taking a lot of attention, making it harder for you to supervise this group project that you've committed to. So move slowly, avoid rushing places, avoid getting in careless accidents, and take it easy. Look for opportunities to experience breakthroughs, right? There's always some good energy that can come out of challenge. For more, visit my website to book a personal reading and register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March, so very soon. If you are the lovely Pisces rising, Mars is entering Sagittarius, your 10th house of career, status, and reputation. This energizes you to go out there, to become more visible, to look for a new job, to assert yourself in this existing job you have. You become a lot more sort of masculine and young in your approach, very clear and bossy. Watch out for being too bossy. Watch out for being too non-compromising, right? Sort of stay grounded and realistic. But it is a great time to just press go on all professional initiatives that you have been considering, right? Are you waiting for the right time? Perhaps now is the right time. However, on November 4th, Mars will oppose Uranus in your 4th house. And this can be a little bit irritating and aggravating, because Uranus in the 4th will bring surprises in your home, in your private life, with your family, your parents, something that will distract you from this approach. The knee-jerk reaction might be to get in a fight and to sort of, scream at people and get angry and get defensive and be like, you do not understand. So watch out for that. Try to problem solve. Maybe if something is happening in your home, it's an indicator of having to improve your home life and improve your living situation so that you have a more secure home base, so that you can go out there in the world and be the warrior you want to be. Share how this resonates. If you're seeking more guidance, more advice, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com to book a personal reading or register for my predictive astrology course. And thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I feel like I had a moment of like brain shutting down after I finished Pisces. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you supporting me. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. If you've been watching my videos but you're not subscribed yet, it helps me grow, helps YouTube show my content to more people. So thank you very much. Again, don't forget to check out all of my offerings on my website, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.